viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. So we got another Hyundai. It's not the same Hyundai we put the fuel pump in, but it is the same car, year, make, and model anyways, an 07 Sonata with the 3.3 V6. Warming up here, it's getting into the mid 40s. People want their air conditioning. So this one came in with a complaint of no AC. Apparently it worked and then it didn't, or it doesn't. So I just figured, like a lot of them do, develop the leak and, bring it in, find a leak, fix it, ship it. But I threw some gauges on it and I see it appears to have a charge. So this one's going to be something a little bit different, so I thought I'd grab the camera, bring you guys along, and see what we find. So you can see here, our gauges are resting about 60 PSI. It should be plenty of pressure to kick on the pump that lives way down there. And when I pulled it in, I verified it. I left the vehicle on, left it running, and did not hear the pump kick on. We'll make some observations here, if we will. Let's see, we'll turn this on. The AC is on, so the AC button works. Grab some scan data. AC switch on. Of course, our pressure transducer seems to be reading about right. Shut the AC off here. So the ECM does not appear to be inhibiting it for any reason. We don't have any codes. I did check to make sure. Definitely no compressor operation, so we can go right out under the hood now. I think before we do that, because we can go out under the hood, but we don't know what we're looking for at this point, we will grab some, or grab I think it's a GLS. No, it's not. It's S or limited. I guess it would be. Where are we? Sonata limited. We'll grab a wiring diagram so we know what the heck we're looking for, fuse-wise, relay-wise, see kind of where stuff lives. See if we can make a quick assessment of this before we get too deep in there. Grab some OEM wiring diagrams. That way there we have some direction anyways. Otherwise we're just guessing, right? Let's see, schematics, controls, manual control, air conditioning, there we go. Alright, so we got some wiring diagrams. That looks like it is the inside stuff. Can we tip this sideways? Or is it gonna, it's gonna auto rotate on us, isn't it? Water temperature. That's not it. Sensor. There we go. There's our AC compressor right there. So we've got our AC compressor that lives down here. Grounded to the block. We've got an AC relay. Aircon fuse 10 amp. Alright. Where does that live? Engine compartment, junction block. So we'll go under the hood and we'll see if we can find that relay, see if we can find that fuse, make sure all of that business works, and then if that's the case, then we'll throw it up in on a lift, see if we can get to that compressor, see if we're getting power to the compressor. We very simply could have just a bad magnetic clutch here. Oh, let's see. Small rating on here. Let's see, fuel pump, wiper, aircon, it says 1, 2, 3. So this is our air conditioning relay. And then we have a fuse, Horndale ECU, aircon number 7, which should be right next to it. So that's that little 10 ampere there. Let me grab a test light. See. Right now we are key on, engine off. It's supposed to be this one right here. Well, there's your problem, lady. Alright, so we have a blown fuse. We only have power on that side of the fuse, but not on that side. Ruh-roh. That's not good. I was going to get out the fuse puller, but you need a puller to get out the puller. Let me get a pair of pliers. Yep, she's nuked. So, throw a fuse in it, ship it, we're done. we need to do is we need to see why the fuse blew, because that's never good. Hopefully, whatever the cause is not intermittent and it's there currently. Get it? Currently. I know. Nice pun, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen, we are going to install a 10 amp circuit breaker in that place. And then what we'll do, make sure our 10 amp breaker is good. It is not tripped. And I think what we can do, get back over to our scan tool, wherever that is. There it is. And we're going to see if we can't activate our AC clutch. There we go.
Just a second.
See if we can turn that on. Huh?
Thanks.
What?
Charlie's on the phone.
Oh. Alright. Just a minute, folks. Alright, we're back. So this should turn the AC clutch on. It's kicking the relay on. Technically, should have power on both sides here. We do. I don't hear the clutch kicking. We get a light. We should hear the AC clutch kicking down here. Usually I hear these things clap pretty loud. Let's see. Yeah? Oh, come on. Well, I get where I can turn this stinking thing. Ain't much to grab onto here. Wow. Yeah, I think it is engaging, folks. See if I can feel the magnetic pull. I feel it's magnetized. Tell you what, the best way to do this is just going to be just start it up, because there may not be a big enough air gap to actually hear it close. But I think one thing we should do before we get too excited, or we get all wound up, we should throw an amp clamp around it just to measure the current that it's drawing right now, make sure it's not kind of borderline explosion. We'll take and throw a loop in here. We'll throw a clamp around it. That way there, if it kicks on and it nukes the fuse, at least we can kind of see what it was, or perhaps when it was, or how it blew. Or we'll see something, hopefully. I hate when cars come in with blown fuses that don't immediately blow the fuse after you replace it, because now you're dealing with an intermittent problem. And if you can't recreate it, you know it's going to come back and haunt you. So we got to try to nab it. So we will use our new Vantage. We'll go down to low amps. I actually have the old snap-on probe that I had with my old Vantage, so it should work fine with this one as far as calibration. So we'll zero that out, 20 amp scale, we'll hook it around our loop. So we'll get this set up here. Kind of like my old MT2400. The old green screen, but she was getting pretty finicky, so Keith got me a good deal on this. One of his dealers down there in Staten Island had these quite reasonable. So select the low amp probe. Take and turn our relay back on. I have to adjust our scales here a little bit. Go up again to 10 amp. Change our time bay, we'll get about 5 seconds across the screen. Where we're peaking out there about 5 amps-ish. Let's see here, pause that. How do we measure our peak? I think we have... Alright, so about 6 amps at the peak. So that's not too unreasonable. Get that live again. There we go. All right, so at least now we know kind of a base of where it is. We'll go ahead and start it, turn the AC on for real, and see what happens here. See if we can catch it shorting out. Oh yeah. Well, it's commanded on. There she goes. So what is that? 7.5 amps, 9 amps. Ooh, she's going up, baby. She's at her max. Boom, we're over the limit. Better change our scale. Boy, she's holding 9.99, 10 amps, man. She is right on the verge of explosion. So if we look at our old fuse, we can tell it didn't pop hard. Usually when they pop hard, there's a little black mark in there. You know, like from a dead short. This thing's holding about 10 amps, 10.10 on a 10 amp fuse. That's no good, fella. We'll let her heat up a little bit. So right now the magnetic clutch is engaged on the compressor. And it's going to stay continually engaged. I think yeah, the fan's just kicked on because I see the pressure drop over here. Now you guys probably can't see it with the glare. AC should be working good. Amperage is increasing to 10.5, so we'll see if after that clutch heats up a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off and kick it back on again here. Alright, so right there I turned it off. Let me turn it back on. Yeah, 11.5. Boy, it's got to be blowing that fuse here anytime now. Let's make sure our probe is calibrated. Just going to unhook it here, make sure it goes back to 0. Yeah, it does, okay. That's a variable. Yeah, 11.7. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and kick that AC off again. Drop down, yeah, 0 amps. Ooh, she's getting higher every time. We'll also have to check our power distribution diagram, make sure nothing else runs off that fuse. I doubt that it does. Must be a pretty good 10 amp fuse. We'll shut it off and back on again. Turn it on and off a couple times there. Yeah, it spikes up there pretty good when we first turn it on, doesn't it? Well, it'd be nice to see the fault, I'll be honest with you. I think this is enough data to condemn it though. Well, folks, I've had it running here for quite a while. It does vary, you know, over time, you know, from 10 up to upwards of 12 amps. I turned it on and off, varied the electrical load, and it just hangs there. And truthfully, my current loop there is starting to get a little bit warm, so I'm going to go ahead and shut this thing off. So before we get too excited, let's just pop back in. We'll grab our wiring diagram again. I just want to take a look. Come on, little guy. We'll take a look and see what all runs off that fuse. Come on! We're at the third diagram down. Aircon fuse, 10 amp. Goes through the AC clutch relay. It should be the only thing feeding off from that, because the only reason I say that is we don't have any current draw on it until we engage the relay. If there was something else drawing from this fuse, we would see it. And usually factory wiring diagrams are pretty good about giving us all the information. With that being said, even though we did not get the fuse to blow, I'm going to make the call on that AC compressor clutch, simply because it's a circuit that's designed to have a 10 amp maximum. I would assume, you know, most fuse circuits, and this is just kind of a generalization or observation I've made, let's say it's a 10 amp fuse, usually they're kind of double the normal circuit draw. So let's say, you know, a normal working AC compressor is, you know, 5 to 7 amps. You know, will be at like a 10 amp protector. It's, you know, it's around a half to 2/3 the total circuit amperage, or it's about a third, or, you know, somewhere between 30 to 50% higher than what the current draw is on that circuit. So yeah, I guess we can make the call. So before we move on, typically you cannot find field coil specifications. I was just doing some poking to see if we could. Oddly enough, Hyundai has a TSB. When do you check TSBs? Early and often. So they say field coil resistance is 3 to 4 ohms. So that would put us around, what, like 3.5 to 4 amps-ish, 4.5 amps on a normal. They don't say, well, this is for all models listed below, additional information for field coil specification. So it must be I'm not the only one that was looking for it. Sonata 99 to 10. 3 to 4 ohms. Of course, they want you to go down to the compressor and measure it, which is absolutely buried on this car. We can make our measurement right from the relay. Shouldn't be a problem. Let's see. Do not use a field coil due to clutchless design. Okay, that's on the newer models, but we don't have to worry about that. So cool. Now we have a spec. Ivan's gonna be so proud of me. We can even make a hypothesis. Real scientific, right? So we'll use Ohm's law. So this is the easiest way for me to remember. So what we know now, you know, obviously we can figure out what value we need. So we're going to assume at this point our charging voltage is 14 volts. And we know what our amperage is, which we'll just round it off. We'll say we're drawing 10 amps. So we should be able to figure out what our should be, what, 1.4, so 14 divided by 10, right? So R equals 1.4. So when we measure our resistance of the clutch that's in the car currently, we should get around, you know, 1.5 ohms. I guess we got to give this a label so we don't get in trouble. Now we can also look at and see what it's supposed to be. So we know what our voltage is, so 14 over our resistance is supposed to be, we'll just call it 4, so that should be what, like 3.5, 14 divided by 4. So amperage equals 3.5 amps if we're at 4 ohms, and that's volts. So yeah, there's our math. Cool. So what we have to do in order to figure that out is find the load side. What's up, Mrs. O?
Working.
Working? We're working too. We just went full nerd. Look at this. Look at this formula. Huh?
Looks very.
All B's and I's and R's and
Wow.
Omegas.
Where'd you copy that from?
Nobody? Right here in my mind. Ohm's law. It's not just a suggestion. It's the law.
Interesting.
So now we're gonna prove, we made a hypothesis.
Very scientific.
Oh, extremely. It's like scientific to the extreme.
You should have a lab coat.
I should have my own laboratory. And sharks with laser beams. Right? Who doesn't want sharks with laser beams? I know I do. As I was, huh?
Have fun.
Yeah, thanks for visiting.
Yeah.
Come again. So as I was saying, to find out, check the resistance from the relay down so we don't have to get underneath the car. We need to find out the load side of the relay, find out which side the compressor lives on. And certainly we could look at the relay and hope that it's right. But we're gonna find out for sure. We're gonna know that it's right. We'll pull the relay out. Let me show you. Let's see, where's my lid? Remember which one it was here. Wiper, aircon, third one in. Let's see. So this one here. Pull that little guy out. Could look at the road map. We will take and stick our relay in here. Stick that back in. We'll use our scan tool. We'll turn it back on. Get my scan tool fired up here. Bear with me. And click happy. What we'll do is we'll turn it on. Find the right freaking buttons. Active test. We're gonna need our test light. We got that. AC clutch. It should be hot. Yep, it is. Alright. We gotta find the blinky light. Oh, that's control side. So that's the load side right there, because that's one that's blinking. So we'll check our resistance from here to ground, because the AC compressor clutch should be grounded to the block, and then we'll get our value. So we'll get some stuff out of our way. What was our hypothesis? 1.4 ohms we were thinking. So I've got one half our ohm lead, or our ohm meter, hooked to the engine block. We'll go in here, we'll select ohms. We'll use our previous calibrated value. Make sure we're on our lowest scale, so we're on a 40 ohm scale. Open that back up. Hopefully you guys can see that. Can you see that? Let me tune you in a little bit here. Bear with me. And now we will go on the load side of our relay. Hopefully. Can you guys see that? No, you can't. Let's get off this graphing. We're just on graph. We'll go to digital. Previous value. It's an auto ranging scale right now. Boom. 1.57. We hypothesized 1.4, which doesn't account for any wiring. So there you have it, folks. Plain as day. It needs a new clutch coil. All right, folks. So we'll leave it at that. Even though we saw the high current draw, it was kind of nice to be able to find the specs on that field coil, because that's usually not publicized information. And sometimes the only way to figure that out is, have a known good car, which in this case we probably could have. We could, my other customer that has one that we just did the video on the fuel pump, same year, make and model, we certainly could have hooked to that just to see, what his was coming out as. And I think this kind of enforces our theory. So we figured, that it's going to draw around 3.5, depending on the resistance of the field coil. So at 4 ohms, it's going to draw around 3.5. At 3 ohms, it's going to be up 4, 4.3-ish, somewhere around there. So that also kind of reinforces what I've seen with fused circuits. Let's say it's a 10 amp circuit, and they usually draw about half that value, and it gives it a little bit of, wiggle room there. So that kind of reinforces that too. Wow. But even though with a good fuse, this touchscreen, it's not, this could actually go out of here, with a working AC. The fact of the matter is, for how long, particularly with that running right at that 10 amp range. And like I say, my little loop here that I use was actually getting warm to the touch. And I'm certain this is heavier gauge wire than what they've wired that circuit with. That's probably like, 16 gauge or 18 gauge, something like that. So yeah, I'm pretty confident with the call. Not sure if I'll get the job on it or not. It was just my job to diagnose it as to why it doesn't have AC. So I'll let the lady know what it needs. We can let her know confidently, 100% what it needs. I'm trying to think of some questions you guys will have. No, it cannot be a short. If that wire from the relay to the AC clutch was shorted, it would blow the fuse immediately. If it was a dead short to ground. And if it had high resistance, higher the resistance, lower the amperage. So if there was, corrosion in the circuit, it would make the AC clutch not function, but would also bring the amperage, usually would bring the amperage down. So high resistance, higher the resistance, lower the amperage. So think of it like that. And, same thing for, a bad ground, because somebody's gonna say, well, it's probably a bad ground from the engine block. But again, that cannot be the case. Otherwise, it wouldn't increase our amperage. At least the best I can think right off the cuff, I would have to say no. In this case, it's just a shorted field coil, or when it's starting to short, windings are starting to short out in it. So we'll leave it at that. If I get the job, of course, we'll record that for sure and for certain. And because I know you guys like that, and we are coming into our 1 week of AC season where everything heats up around here. So stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, click subscribe, click the notification bell, check us out on our socials, Google Plus and Facebook, and also on Patreon. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If not, make sure in the comments below you tell us why it sucked. Leave your comments, questions, and criticisms down there, and we'll get to them as time allows. So, all right, guys, just remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.